Okay, here we go. We are in session number 136 of Kevin Reads A Course in Miracles. Alrighty, and I thank you for being here. You have no idea how much it helps me. Okay. And that's it occurred to me, Kevin Reads A Course in Miracles. That's basically all we're doing here. Right? I remember Dr. Wapnick would always remind me, don't take it too seriously. You're taking things too seriously. All right? So it's reading, as if we're reading poetry. Let it wash over you. All right? And don't be hard on yourself. I got to learn this. I got to do this. And I didn't do it right. And this. Basta. All right? Enough. Be good to yourself. All right? Okay, let's get to session 136. We are in chapter 17, all right, entitled Forgiveness and the Holy Relationship. Okay. And section 3, the shadows of the past. Okay. Let's just, very quick synopsis. The idea of forgiveness and the holy relationship all takes place in the mind. The holy relationship is initiated with the Holy Spirit, with Jesus. Right? We join with them. That's the relationship. Okay? And through them to our relationship with God. Right? That's the holy relationship. And by connecting with them, we're able to see differently. We're able to interpret our perceptions differently. All right? Without the projections of guilt. We go to the right mind. Guilt does not exist in the relationship with Jesus or Holy Spirit. All right? And that is reflected in our daily life. We see things differently. All right? What he's going to be talking about, the shadows of the past here, it's the idea of the belief in separation. The belief in separation. That's the past. And we project into this experience here, and we bring those, everything reflects that. They become the shadows of the belief in separation, right? The shadows of guilt and fear. You did something wrong, and there's something wrong with you, you're lacking, all that stuff. Those are the shadows we bring with us. Okay? And it all stems from the original choice to believe that I'm separated from my source. I'm separated from the oneness. To believe that, then I have to rush out of the mind, because all of a sudden I think God is looking to get me. There's the fear. So I project into this world, right? And I'm able to point out all the people who are really guilty, all the people who are responsible for taking my peace away from me. All right? But it all really comes back to my decision to believe that I was separated from God. All right? Then it all rolls out. And once again, it'll come back to, as Jesus said in the beginning, there's one problem, one solution. All right? But Jesus knows it takes us time. All right? Little by little, we get back to that idea. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, then. The shadows of the past, paragraph 1. To forgive is merely to remember only the loving thoughts you gave in the past and those that were given you. All the rest must be forgotten. Forgiveness is a selective remembering, based not on your selection. For the shadow figures you would make immortal are enemies of reality. Be willing to forgive the Son of God for what he did not do. The shadow figures are the witnesses you bring with you to demonstrate he did what he did not. Because you bring them, you will hear them. And you who keep them by your own selection do not understand how they came into your mind and what their purpose is. They represent the evil that you think was done to you. You bring them with you only that you may return evil for evil, hoping that their witness will enable you to think guiltily of another and not harm yourself. They speak so clearly for the separation that no one not obsessed with keeping separation could hear them. They offer you the reasons why you should enter into unholy alliances to support the ego's goals and make your relationships the witness to its power. Okay. So he starts it off very nicely. To forgive is to remember only the loving thoughts you gave in the past and those that were given you. All right, that's a very poetic way of describing your oneness with God, your true identity, your true form and function, your abstractness, your connection to God, in which you extend loving thoughts, the same that were given to you. And that's your function in reality, right? In heaven, so to speak, back into oneness. All right? And he says that's forgiveness, is to reach that point. Okay? Then he says everything else has to be forgotten. Forgiveness is a selective remembering based not on your selection. For the shadowy figures you would make immortal are enemies of reality. All right? And that's what we do. We have miscreated this whole world, and at any given moment we can point to someone or something, all right, that is responsible for us not being peaceful, that is responsible for us not being aware of our connection to God. These are the shadowy figures that we make immortal. All right? All right? As long as I have others to blame, all right, I'm okay. But he says, but be willing to forgive the Son of God for what he did not do. All right? That's always a difficult thing for the course student to hear because of our resistance to accepting who we truly are. Forgive the other for what they did not do. Right? Forgive yourself for what you did not do. And what you did not do was you did not separate from God. That's the bottom line, right? In time, people do all kinds of nutty things, cruel things, or mean things. All right? But what we're talking about is going back into the right mind, connecting with the Holy Spirit, and beginning to see that spark that says they didn't leave the mind of God either. Right? And we begin to have our perceptions changed, right? And we could stop projecting the guilt onto the others, right? Or even onto our bodies. Oh, my body can't be peaceful, my feet hurt. And other things that we take more seriously, of course. but I can't be peaceful because I have this condition, I have that condition, this going on in my body. Right? Or I can't be peaceful because my neighbor keeps smoking in the apartment next door to mine, and I like to keep the windows open. It can't be peaceful. Billions of things, okay, billions of shadows of the past. All right, remember the past is my decision. All right, not me, Kevin. All right, the original decision-making part of the mind of the Son of God decided to believe it could separate, right? And then projects the mind, blasts into billions of pieces, trillions, innumerable pieces, okay? And now I'm remembering Dr. Wapnick said, as we study the Course and everything, it's okay to think that everybody has their individual mind, all right? And everybody has their individual decision maker. Okay, it's good. Do that. And little by little, we get, as we're having our perceptions changed through asking Holy Spirit, help me to see this correctly, right? Going to that place where the memory of who we are resides, and asking to change that perception, that interpretation of what's going on. All right? We gradually get to the place where we can accept more fully who we really are, that we're not separate minds, right? There is the one mind, but one foot in front of the other. And Jesus is okay with it. He knows we have to take steps. All right? He knows that. He's with us all the way. All right? And don't be so hard on yourself. If you think, I didn't do it right. I call that guy whatever. Right? I had an argument with this person. Okay, just notice. And ask Holy Spirit for the correct interpretation of yourself and what's going on. And that's how we return. Right? That's how we will return to the knowledge of who we are. Okay? And you who keep them by your own selection, everything in this world, it's meant to keep us away from the mind, keep us away from the mind so we don't make that decision to go home. Right? Help me to see correctly. Each and every one of those decisions is helping us to get home, right? To where there's nothing but comfort and security and happiness and understand knowledge. Okay? But here, the purpose of everything here is to get us away from that. Keep us distracted. All right. The shadow figures are the witnesses that you bring with you to demonstrate he did what he did not, to demonstrate that he separated from God, to demonstrate that you separated from God. All these shadow figures, that's what they are there to prove. And Jesus says, forgive him for what he did not do. He did not separate from God. Right? That's what that statement always means. What do you mean he didn't do anything? All right? Ask the Holy Spirit for help interpreting what he did. Because the shadow figures are witnesses you bring with you to demonstrate he did what he did not. Because you bring them, you will hear them. Right? And you who keep them by your own selection do not understand how they came into your mind and what their purpose is. Right? But, I'm an innocent victim. I don't know. I don't know how that happened. And we certainly don't get to the point where, unless we're actively choosing to return, we don't know what their purpose is. Their purpose is to try to prove to us we separated. Okay? They represent the evil that you think was done to you. All right? And in the original levels, it's like on two levels here. The original level, we think that God slighted us. He would not recognize our individuality. That's the evil that was done to me. All right? And then I said, oh yeah, I'll show you. I'll do it myself. And I chose to join with the ego thought system, the thought of separation, and immediately felt the loss, right? Immediately felt the guilt of that decision, of what have I done? And then immediately projected the guilt in order to feel better, that God did it. God did it to me. He kicked me out. He's angry at me. He's going to get me. All right? Now I have to get out of here. And we create the world, miscreate, as Gloria used to say, Ken's wife. We miscreate the world. We take the shadows with us, right? But what we also take with us is the memory of who we are. And that's what we contact here, okay? So they, all these shadows represent the evil you think was done to you. And in this current lifetime, it could be applied also, all right? Wow, he's just like, or she's just like the other one, right? And they start reminding you of things that were done to you in the past. And so your anger rises up again, or your fear even, right? There's some people who are terribly abused. And then decades later, someone comes along and just their whole energy, the sound of their voice, a word or two that they use, or something triggers those memories. And we're right back there with the shadows of the past. Okay? Not realizing that, because sometimes it's quite acute. Right? I'm not denying anyone's experience, believe me. All right? I've witnessed enough in my lifetime, right? As they say, I've been around the block a few times. All right? So I'm not denying anyone's experience. I'm just saying the purpose of those experiences, bottom line is to keep us out of the mind where the memory of who we are resides, where the solution to all our problems resides, right? Where peace resides, right? He says you can easily boil the course down to, I could see peace instead of this, one of the lessons. I could see peace instead of this. All right? But at the time, it might be, you might be in an acute fear or anxiety or anger, And that's what it's for. Bottom line, that's what it's for, is to keep us out of our minds. So we don't make the choice to go home. We don't make the choice to see it differently. Because even in the most despicable situations, we can contact that spark of love, that spark of who you are, that spark of God that is in everyone. Okay? All right? But the purpose of things in the world is to keep us away from that decision. Help me to see correctly. Right? I want to see peace. Right? So he says, you bring them with you so that you may return evil for evil. So now you're justified in your anger and your actions, okay? Hoping that their witness will enable you to think guiltily of another and not harm yourself. Right? Hoping that we can think the worst of them, right? And not harm ourselves. All right? Jesus says there's only one mind. You know, if you're putting him in hell, you're going to be standing right next to him. All right? You think it won't harm you. He says that all these witnesses that we bring, all these shadows that we bring, they speak so clearly for the separation that no one, not obsessed with keeping separation, could hear them. This is Jesus' penchant for using double and triple negatives. So they speak so clearly for the separation that no one, not obsessed with keeping separation, could hear them. So we'll just do a little math. A negative times a negative, I think, is a positive, something like that. So is anyone who is obsessed with keeping separation, all right? That's the people that will hear them. All right? The only people who will pay attention to these witnesses, these shadows, are the people who are obsessed with keeping the idea of separation. They offer you the reasons why you should enter into unholy alliances to support the ego's goals and make your relationships the witness to its power, to the ego's power. So he says, this whole world, that's it, you know, if we were buying into it, it will offer us reasons to enter into all kinds of alliances. Just to protect yourself, because those people out there, they're crazy, they're evil, they're mean, they're whatever. So we have to enter all kinds of alliances. You know, it's me and you against the world. And no one is saying don't enter into alliances. Just notice. It's just wonderful to notice all of a sudden, oh, this is why I'm doing this. This is why I'm thinking this way. Right? And if you could start to question the ego, zoom, there it is, the crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. There's a crack in the ego. All of a sudden, you can start your journey back. Or you can resume your journey, right? Don't call yourself dirty names if you get married, have children, right? Have a job, join a political party, save the whales, whatever, right? Don't call yourself dirty names for doing that. Just notice, oh, this is what I'm doing. I'm entering into alliances because I think I need something. Okay? Don't berate yourself for that. Just notice, and continually go inside and ask, help me to see this correctly. Right? Because no one's going to take anything. Jesus is not going to take anything from you. The Holy Spirit's not going to take anything from you. It's just going to help you use it correctly. Going to help you use it to see the face of God, the face of Christ, as they say. Going to help you to see who you really are. Going to help you to see the face of Christ in everyone. So no matter what the alliance is, it can be used. It can have a different purpose. instead of the purpose of proving to you that you're separated from God and you better protect yourself. Right? Now the purpose shifts. The purpose is to show us that we're one in the mind. Right? And we have never left the one mind that thought of us. Okay? So, because otherwise they just witness to the ego's quote-unquote power. Air quotes are so silly, but sometimes they come in handy. All right? So they just witness to the ego's power, the power of the thought of separation. Paragraph 2. It is these shadow figures that would make the ego holy in your sight and teach you what you do to keep it safe. To teach you that what you do to keep it safe is really love. Right? The shadow figures always speak for vengeance, and all relationships into which they enter are totally insane. Without exception, these relationships have as their purpose the exclusion of the truth about the other and yourself. This is why you see in both what is not there, and make of both the slaves of vengeance, and why whatever reminds you of your past grievances attracts you, and seems to go by the name of love, no matter how distorted the associations by which you arrive at the connection may be. And finally, why all such relationships become attempts at union through the body, for only bodies can be seen as means for vengeance. The bodies are central to all unholy relationships is evident. Let me read that again. That bodies are central to all unholy relationships is evident. Your own experience has taught you this. But what you may not realize are all the reasons that go to make the relationship unholy. For unholiness seeks to reinforce itself, as holiness does, gathering to itself what it perceives as like itself. All right? And once again, it behooves us all to reread these things. So he says, without exception, all these relationships that we enter into, people, places, things, organizations, ideologies, whatever, right? They have as their purpose the exclusion of the truth about the other and yourself. Okay? I mean, you can see how that applies, especially in today's world of media. You know, all kinds of mass media, social media. Oh my goodness. You align yourself with what you want to hear, most likely. And Jesus says, look, they're not telling you the truth about who the other is, and they're not telling you the truth about who you are. Right? And what he means by that is that it's not telling you that the other is the Son of God just as you are, right? And that you are connected, you are one in the mind. All right? It's not telling you that. The media is not telling you that. It's like, look at these people. Look at they're destroying our belief systems. Whatever. He says, just notice these things. And if you want help with these things, right, if you want to calm your fears, come ask me. Ask me to help you. I will take your hand. He says, this is not a fantasy. He says, I will take your hand. And I will help you to see correctly. And I will walk you through this incredibly strange world I'll walk you through it as if you were walking through a beautiful garden. Right? And he says, this is not a line, this is not a scam. Right? This is not a fantasy. He goes, I am here to do that for you. And he says, and I have infinite patience because I know who you really are. Right? And I know you're like a little child having a nightmare. Right? I'm not going to abruptly wake you up. I'm going to help you come out of it slowly, in your own time. I keep pace with you. Right? Jesus will keep pace with our recovery, so to speak. Right? Not pushing us along, just standing there, waiting to hold our hand. Okay. In the meantime, paragraph 3. In the unholy relationship, it is not the body of the other with which union is attempted, but the bodies of those who are not there. Right? For even the body of the other, already a severely limited perception of him, is not the central focus as it is, or in entirety. What can be used for fantasies of vengeance, and what can be most readily associated with those on whom vengeance is really sought, is centered on and separated off as being the only parts of value. Every step taken in the making, the maintaining, and the breaking off of the unholy relationship is a move toward further fragmentation and unreality. The shadow figures enter more and more, and the one in whom they seem to be decreases in importance. All right. So sometimes, you could see it. You can see it in people, like the vengeance of the past. All right. So say my friend from decades ago, who basically was ignored by his mother, abandoned by his mother, right? And he grew up and he didn't even question it. He just had to have a girlfriend, had to have a woman with him, right? And he went from one relationship to another, one relationship to another. And he would, in some of these relationships, the women were quite serious about it. They wanted to get married, and, as soon as anything serious would come up, Peter was gone. Sorry, I didn't mean to mention his name. Oh, well then. Peter Pumpkin Eater. All right? But that's what he would go. And he told me, he goes, I can't stay by myself. And this was a mature man at this point. Telling me, no, I can't. I gotta go find another woman to be with. Okay, but that's basically just an example of what Jesus is talking about. All right? The shadow figures enter more and more. So these are shadow figures. These are figures that are helping him get vengeance on the abandonment from the past. Excuse me. I'm not going to be alone. I'm not going to be alone. She's going to stay with me. And then he chooses to leave. However long it takes, months, years. But the shadow figures enter more and more, and the one in whom they seem to be decreases in importance. So in each new relationship, the shadow of the past decreases in importance. It just becomes, it just doesn't become important. It becomes meaningless. He's not even aware of what he's doing. Right? And we're not judging, because there's a lot of people that do those things. They go from one relationship to another. Okay? And hey, you could do it with addictions too if you wanted to. Right? You stop drinking and you start eating candy. Right? You stop smoking. Right? You start, it's like I said like 30 years ago, I stopped smoking. I was addicted to smoking. Now I'm addicted to buffalo chicken wings. But that's the body. That's the way it goes, you know. You have to be vigilant of all these things. Right? Something is replacing that hand to mouth, replacing that feeling, right, of the nicotine rushing into the brain, right, or the alcohol rushing into the brain and the nervous system, right. You know, we start to replace them with other things instead of delving into the problem. It's you know, the origin of the problems, right? Which there's a lot of things would help us do that. Okay then. So every step taken in making, maintaining, and breaking off the unholy relationship is a move toward further fragmentation and unreality. Okay? Because each one, as I substitute one addiction for another, right, it's just another fragmentation of reality. We're not getting to the bottom of things. Right? Paragraph 4. Time is indeed unkind to the whole unholy relationship. For time is cruel in the ego's hands, as it is kind when used for gentleness. The attraction of the unholy relationship begins to fade and to be questioned almost at once. Once it is formed, doubt must enter in, because its purpose is impossible. The ideal of the unholy relationship thus becomes one in which the reality of the other does not enter at all to spoil the dream. And the less the other really brings to the relationship, the better it becomes. Thus the attempted union becomes a way of excluding even the one with whom the union was sought. For it was formed to get him out of it and join with fantasies in uninterrupted bliss. So to use my friend again, right? It's almost at once with the next person, right? Doubt must enter into it, like, oh, you know, this was wrong. This didn't help, you know? So the ideal, what the ego really likes, is that in the relationship becomes the one where the reality of the other doesn't enter into it at all. We don't even see we don't even try to see who the other person is or what the other thing is, right? Doesn't enter into it at all. We don't want to spoil the effect. Oh, I'm not abandoned, right? Oh, my body calmed down, right? And any of you who are addicts, former addicts, you could relate to the fact that there were times when whatever was your preferred substance, the moment you ingested it, you knew that was wrong. I shouldn't have done that. But we don't want to spoil the dream, right? So he says in paragraph 5, how can the Holy Spirit bring his interpretation of the body as a means of communication into relationships whose only purpose is separation from reality. What forgiveness is enables him to do so. If all but loving thoughts has been forgotten, what remains is eternal, and the transformed past is made like the present. No longer does the past conflict with now. This continuity extends the present by increasing its reality and its value in your perception of it. In these loving thoughts is the spark of beauty hidden in the ugliness of the unholy relationship where hatred is remembered. Yet there, to come alive, as the relationship is given to him who gives it life and beauty. That is why the atonement centers on the past, which is the source of separation, and where it must be undone. For separation must be corrected where it was made. So the separation was made in the mind. So it needs to be corrected there. So at some point we have to go into the mind. We have to come inside, so to speak. Right? And forgiveness enables the Holy Spirit to enter the relationship and start to help us see it correctly and correct it. Okay? And that forgiveness, the idea is that I stop projecting the guilt. I stop putting it outside of me. Right? It's not them. It's not my body. It's not people, places, and things. All right? Help me. I'm willing to see the truth. That's the crack. All right? I'm willing to see what the truth is. I'm willing to not know what I think I know. All right? And he says, now I'm willing to look at these figures and realize I have the choice. What forgiveness is enables the Holy Spirit to enter these relationships whose purpose is separation from reality. Now we could start to see them correctly. And as Jesus says, he will use these things to help us come back home. Okay? For separation must be corrected where it was made, in the mind. In the mind. Help me to see correctly. All right? That's the choice for oneness. That's the choice for heaven. That's the choice for truth. All right? As opposed to the choice to be separated from all that. All right? I come inside and I say, it's the willingness to come back to truth. Paragraph 6. The ego seeks to resolve its problems, not at their source, but where they were not made. And thus it seeks to guarantee there will be no solution. The Holy Spirit wants only to make his resolutions complete and perfect. So he seeks and finds the source of problems where it is, and there undoes it. And with each step in his undoing, is the separation more and more undone and union brought closer. He's not at all confused by any reasons for separation. Let him uncover the hidden spark of beauty in your relationships and show it to you. Its loveliness will so attract you that you will be unwilling ever to lose sight of it again. And you will let the spark transform the relationship so you can see it more and more. For you will want it more and more and become increasingly unwilling to let it be hidden from you. And you will learn to seek for and establish the conditions in which this beauty can be seen. Right? So you will want this beauty. Right? You will want your perceptions corrected. Right? You'll want the beauty that arises in your mind, and you'll be unwilling to let it be hidden from you. Right? You'll want it more and more. And you learn to seek for and establish the conditions in which this beauty can be seen. You will learn to seek for and establish the condition which is going inside and joining with Jesus, Holy Spirit, the truth of who you are. Whatever symbol of unconditional love you prefer, right? You join with that symbol in your mind and just be with it. And let it retranslate your situations for you. And he says, and you'll want that more and more. All this we would do gladly if you but let him hold the spark before you to light your way and make it clear to you. God's Son is one. Whom God has joined as one, the ego cannot put asunder. The spark of holiness must be safe, however hidden it may be in every relationship. For the creator of the one relationship has left no part of it without himself. This is the only part of the relationship the Holy Spirit sees, because he knows that only this is true. You have made the relationship unreal, and therefore unholy, by seeing it where it is not, and as it is not. Give the past to him who can change your mind about it for you. But first, be sure you fully realize what you have made the past to represent and why. All right? It says, first, you realize that you chose to believe you were separated. Right? And that's why you made up the past, that I left the oneness. It says, be sure you fully realize, right, that you have made the past, what you have made the past to represent. Right? And why? Because we wanted to maintain that thought of separation. Right? To maintain individuality and innocence. I didn't do it. By projecting the original guilt onto shadows out here. All right? But he says that you are one. You're one with God. There is one mind. All right? The Son of God is one. Because God thought of you. God created you. And who God made one, and who God is one with, the ego can't ruin that. The ego cannot put asunder. It says the ego can't do anything. Right? It can make believe. Right? Whom God has joined as one, the ego cannot put asunder. The spark of holiness must be safe, however hidden it may be. Right? There's a spark. There's that spark in everything. We have to be willing to see it. Right? And he uses that phrase from the New Testament. What God has joined together, let no man put asunder. The Catholic Church used that to keep everybody involved in miserable marriages. Heavy burden of guilt if you got divorced. Oh my God. Oh my God. Terrible. And they would use that as a quote. God has joined together. Oh my goodness. I mean, I've seen it. You've all seen it. How that guilt destroys people. The burden they carry. But Jesus takes it and uses it for his purpose of telling you how innocent you are. He says you're one. The ego can't destroy that oneness. The ego cannot put it asunder. Okay? So the past, in paragraph 8, becomes the justification for entering into a continuing unholy alliance with the ego, all right, against the present. For the present is forgiveness. Therefore, the relationships the unholy alliance dictates are not perceived nor felt as now. Yet the frame of reference to which they present is referred for meaning is an illusion of the past, in which those elements that fit the purpose of the unholy alliance are retained, and all the rest are let go. And what is thus let go is all the truth the past could ever offer to the present as witnesses for its reality. What is kept but witnesses to the reality of dreams. So he's just reiterating what he said about the unholy relationship, right? Because the past becomes the justification into a continuing unholy alliance with the ego, right, against the present, right? And read that as the ego. We join in this alliance with the ego, right? The ego is going to give me what I need, going to take care of me, right? Because God wouldn't listen, right? Right? Now I'm getting vengeance on that. Okay, so I join the ego in a continuing unholy alliance, right? An unholy alliance with the ego against the present, because in the present moment, as all good spiritual teachers will tell you eventually, the present moment is where everything lies. There is nothing else. There is only now. And in the present moment, you are the Son of God. In the present moment is your innocence. In the present moment is your Buddha consciousness. It's your Christ consciousness. In the present moment, you realize you never left that present moment. You never left the mind that created you, that expanse, that great expanse. Right? But it's in the present moment where everything else drops away. But in our alliances, the ego makes sure we don't get back to the present moment. Right? Because the ego doesn't know from heaven, God, love, whatever. Just knows that if we choose against it, it disappears. If we choose against that thought of fragmentation and separation, it disappears. So it does its best to make sure we don't make that choice. All right? Therefore, the relationships the unholy alliance dictates are not perceived nor felt as now. Yet the frame of reference to which the present is referred for meaning is an illusion of the past, right? In which those elements that fit the purpose of the unholy alliance are retained, and all the rest is let go. So we have these selective memories, so to speak, that reaffirm the reasons why we have to make this alliance. All right? And what is thus let go is all the truth the past could ever offer. All right? So we let go, we dissociate from the truth. Okay? What is kept but witnesses to the reality of dreams. All right? So we hold on to the ego. Paragraph 9, it is still up to you to choose to join with truth or with illusion. But remember that to choose one is to let the other go. Which one you choose, you will endow with beauty and reality, because the choice depends on which you value more. The spark of beauty or the veil of ugliness, the real world or the world of guilt and fear, truth or illusion, freedom or slavery. It is all the same, for you can never choose except between God and the ego. Thought systems are but true or false, and all their attributes come simply from what they are. Only the thoughts of God are true, and all that follows from them comes from what they are, and is as true as is the holy source from which they came. All right? Only the thoughts of God are true. He says, so you choose every day, all day long, you're choosing. All right? To choose one is to let the other go. But which you choose, you will endow with beauty and reality. All right? This is because the choice depends on what you value more. The spark of beauty or the veil of ugliness. The real world or the world of guilt. Truth or illusion. Freedom or slavery. It's all the same. For you can never choose except between God and the ego. Thought systems are but true or false, and all their attributes come simply from what they are. Only the thoughts of God are true, and all that follows from them comes from what they are, and is as true as is the holy source from which they came. Right. And he concludes by saying, my holy brother. All right, he's talking to all of us. He's talking to the decision-making part of our mind. Okay? My holy brother, I would enter into all your relationships and step between you and your fantasies. Let my relationship to you be real to you. And let me bring reality to your perception of your brothers. They were not created to enable you to hurt yourself through them. They were created to create with you. This is the truth that I would interpose between you and your goal of madness. Be not separate from me, and let not the holy purpose of atonement be lost to you in dreams of vengeance. Relationships in which such dreams are cherished have excluded me. Let me enter in the name of God and bring you peace, that you may offer peace to me. It's a wonderful and beautiful paragraph, and he's speaking directly to us. He says, I would enter into all your relationships. Bring me with you. All right? I will step between you and the fantasies. All right? He says, let my relationship be real to you. All right? It's the same as he said once before. I assure you, this is no idle fantasy. Let my relationship with you be real to you. And let me bring reality to your perception of your brothers. Help me to see correctly. Let me bring reality to your perception. Okay? He says, the other people, he says, they were not created to enable you to hurt yourself through them. Right? They were created to create with you. Right? They were created to have loving thoughts the way you have, and to extend them only. This is the truth that I would interpose between you and your goal of madness. Right? This is the truth that I would place in between you and your goal of madness. Let me step in there. So he says, be not separate from me. All right, even if we begin by practicing, imagining whatever we're doing, Jesus is next to us. You know, you're brushing your teeth, you're driving your car, you're working, you're taking a walk, right? You're walking your dog or your dogs. And let Jesus be with you. He says, let my relationship be real to you. All right? Let me bring reality to your perception of your brothers. All right? Ask me and I will help you see correctly. All right? Be not separate from me. Let not the holy purpose of the atonement be lost to you in dreams of vengeance. Relationships in which such dreams are cherished have excluded me. All right? So all our unholy alliances, all right, have excluded Jesus. Okay? He says, let me enter in the name of God and bring you peace. He says, come on, let me bring you peace. You will love it, he says. You will experience it and you will love it. And you'll want nothing else. Right. Let me enter in the name of God and bring you peace, that you may offer peace to me. Let that relationship be real to you. Right. Imagine me holding your hand, and I assure you this is no idle fantasy. Jesus is telling us so many ways. Be not separate from me. Okay. Let me bring you peace. Right. And you can offer it to me. All right. And with that, let us bask in the peace. All right. Settle into the present moment where peace resides, where you will meet Jesus. I'll see you next time. All righty. Bye.